enough words to tell people what I think.
I mean, I'm a writer by trade and a filmmaker by misadventure. I'd never directed anything, and when I set out, I realised I was much more likely to fail than to succeed. And I sort of thought that was actually a liberating thing, because then it meant I could take every risk I wanted. I never pretended I knew anything about acting or cinematography or sound, but I always knew what it was I wished to elicit in a performance.
The Sound of One Hand Clapping tells the story of a teenager who walks out on her alcoholic father. 20 years later, she returns to the Tasmanian Highlands in search of her father and the mystery of her mother. The movie stars Kerry Fox.
Funny thing, I don't remember a thing that happened to me after I left the pub last night. Let's go straight to bed, huh?
Yeah, you went straight to bed. You snored something terrible.
I think reconciliation is just essential to all of us, you know, and especially someone who's suffering from grief and loss and isolation, devastation. She's a fractured woman, and by reconciling with her father, she can come to be close to somebody who knows her really well. And, you know, it's just simply about love, and we all need that.
Kerry Fox is these days based in London and is currently filming a movie in Kenya. She shot, of course, to worldwide fame for her outstanding performance in Jane Campion's 1990 Kiwi film, An Angel at My Table.
I mean, I find often that Australian scripts represent Australians as idiots, which I am really against, and I don't want to participate in films that are like that, really. I want to be a part of Australian work that enriches Australian culture. It's very rare that actually that I get the chance to act. I often find myself, strangely enough, in situations where directors actually for some reason try and stop me acting. I'm constantly trying to figure it out, and I'm constantly frustrated. But I feel with Richard I've been able to fly.
Well, Kerry was terrific. I was very nervous about working with someone of her stature. But she was lovely. She's not a chameleon. When I met her at the airport, in fact, I didn't recognise her, and she came up and tapped me on the shoulder. I was scanning all these people, and she throws herself. She's very brave in the way she works, because she abandons everything she knows and seeks to go beyond who and what she is to try and discover the character, which reminded me of how I write, that in the end you have to abandon what you know.
The Sound of One Hand Clapping is the first feature film to come from Steve Vizard's Artist Services, which was originally a TV production house. Its director of photography is Martin McGrath, known for his work on Your Movie Network's Children of the Revolution and Muriel's Wedding, and is now bringing some stunning Tasmanian scenery to the big screen.
It's the country I grew up in, and I've always had a very deep feeling for it. I grew up in a world where everywhere I went, the land was full of stories. Every tree, rocks, everything had significance, and that's what I was always told and brought up to believe. But in our culture, which we sort of largely took from Europe and America, the land was dismissed as property.
So Flanagan wrote the book, wrote the screenplay and directed the film. Is there anything he had to compromise to satisfy others, or is this man blissfully happy?
If you maintain fidelity to the notion of a novel, you'll destroy it. It's like trying to redo a symphony as a pop song. They're totally different things. I always felt a bit of a bastard, because I was the only person on the set who had utterly no fidelity to the script at all, because to me what mattered was making the best possible movie. And as I went on, I wrote the screenplay, then I wrote the book, then I made the movie, then I rewrote the book while I was cutting the movie. And at each point they became more and more divergent, because both forms have wonderful possibilities. But to try and make a film of the book or a book of the film is to denigrate both forms and be untrue to them. So I suppose what I learned is that if you want to make a bad movie, try and faithfully reproduce a novel. If your only hope for making a movie that matters is to go with the possibilities inherent in the form, which is that extraordinary marriage of image, sound and technology, and try and convey the same essential themes and ideas as you've got, you know, in your book. But beyond that, don't worry about being faithful to the book.
All of which will ensure that fans of the book will have both hands clapping when they see the film, which opens in cinemas Australia-wide through late April and May.
Tea, Sonia. We drink tea now.
Why, Mama? Why we drink tea?
Because we are in Tasmania, not Slovenia. Because our world is upside down. Because to have a future, you must forget the past.
There was great pressure on me initially to use known child actors from TV series and that, who to me had one level of emotion they could play, and they'd been trained to overact and be cute and so on, and so there was nothing that, to me, they were worse than useless, because you could never get them back to a performance that was human. What I then searched for were for children who had two qualities. One was a quality of character that I hoped to capture through the lens, and the other was just that they'd be people who I could spend a lot of time with and develop a relationship of trust with. One was my daughter. I went with her in the end because I know her very well, and I knew that she had the quality I wanted. The other was a girl just over 3 years old, 3 years and 1 month when we shot, who we'd gone through lots and lots of children. We wanted a 3-year-old, wanted those slightly spastic movements that 3-year-olds still have. But I needed someone who could talk well. 3-year-olds don't actually talk well, I discovered. They have a sort of language that people close to them understand perfectly well, but which a cinema audience never would. So then we looked sort of at dwarf 5-year-olds who spoke well, but they don't move like toddlers. And then we came across Arabella Wayne, who was actually the daughter of classical musicians, which I think explained the fact she had perfect diction. And she had a musical ear, and you could give her a line and she would repeat it back to you perfectly.
Smile, Sonia, and the Lord smiles back.
Richard Flanagan will be hoping audience response and critical reviews here will be as positive as in Germany, where it premiered at the Berlin Film Festival to exceptional praise.
The sound of one hand clapping in competition brought this reviewer to tears. The sound of one hand clapping has an extraordinarily strong impact.
John Grisham he isn't, Matt Damon he isn't, but this Aussie is just as happy with the fruits of his creative juices as the Hollywood giants are.
They were serving time.
I now pronounce you convict and convict.
But a sudden hail of bullets made them run. Locked together in a desperate bid for freedom.
You don't like white people now, is that it? No, I just don't like you.
Lawrence Fishburne.
What are you doing chained to that white boy?
What the hell's the matter with you? Didn't you see Deliverance?
Stephen Baldwin.
We ain't gonna make it! We're gonna have to jump! What do you mean jump? I can't swim!
The cops, the mob.
Let's go! Drive!
My house! I'm warning you. It's messy.
They all want them off the streets. But they'll have to catch them first.
No!
Strap yourself in for non-stop.
Got a flight, come on.
Breakneck speed action.
This thing is just getting started.
With two of Hollywood's hottest stars.
You guys know each other before you went to jail?
No.
Cellmates?
Oh, no. Hell no.
See how they run.
Can I get him?
Fled, coming soon during Movie One's Amazing May.
This movie is classified MA and is recommended for viewing by mature adult audiences. It contains scenes with strong language and strong violence.
Fin tuna. Then at 8:30, we have a look at the ancient custom of Chinese foot binding, followed by Treasures of the Deep at 9:30.
Deep in the heart of Texas, old habits die hard. But these six-shooters aren't aiming to settle a grudge about land or cattle. They're here to break ground for one of the world's largest structures, the very first domed stadium ever built. This stunt and the Houston Astrodome were born in the extraordinary brain of Judge Roy Hoffheims.
With the exception of the Great Wall of China, dams are the biggest man-made constructions ever built. They are the nerve centers of our modern world. Building Big continues next Wednesday at 8:30 on National Geographic Channel. Experience the strangest places, the most unusual people, and the very best in storytelling. Off the Beaten Track, tonight at 10:30 on National Geographic Channel. The greatest explorers in a world of adventure are waiting for you to join their ranks. With National Geographic Channel's Explorers Club, turn your passion for exploration into a whole new experience. Register your membership at our award-winning website. Then discover a world of amazing prizes, exclusive information on our explorers, news on our latest projects, green guides, book guides, and a personalized program service. National Geographic Channel's Explorers Club, your passport to an amazing world.
It's early June, and Dr. Betsy Nichols is heading deep into the heart of British Columbia.
I'm not sure I ever want to do one this large.
Let's just take it down a notch, okay?
At 8:30, a man is trying to live by the code and keep his peace. See Forrest Whitaker in Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai. Or on Movie Extra, have a girls' night in at 8:30.
Ben Stiller, Edward Norton and Jenna Elfman star in the drama Keeping the Faith. And on Movie Greats.
Anthony Quinn is a mobster doing all he can to
Give his unborn nephew a dad in the crime film The Naked Street at 8:30.
Movie Network, the Movieplex at your place.
The following movie is classified M and is recommended for
Viewing by mature audiences, it may contain scenes with strong language and violence.
A retired boxer and his protege enter the big time in Percy and Thunder, starring James Earl Jones. Next on Movie Extra.
Who's the coolest woman you and I have ever known?
It's easy. Anna Riley, 8th grade, no question.
You got it.
As kids, they were best friends.
Anna Riley called you?
She's coming to New York.
Now Jake is a rabbi.
Give me something I can work with, folks. Shabbat shalom.
Brian is a priest.
Gonna be the Fugees here this morning, no Lauryn Hills.
And Anna is all grown up.
Hello, boys.
Ben Stiller, Edward Norton and Jenna Elfman. Wow. Keeping the faith for your girls' night in tonight.
On this edition of On the Set, I talked
to Australia's most serious filmmaker, Yahoo, about his passion for Australian movies. Yes, that is the real Yahoo Serious, writer, director and star of Mr. Accident, pinned to a rotor engine and spinning around, all in the name of art. This is just one of the physical challenges Yahoo undertook in this film, which was non-stop slapstick comedy.
The stunts are kind of interesting because everyone, as soon as the word stunt comes up, it's, you know, it goes back to its original meaning of this heroic interpretation of something. And anyone really that does physical comedy, they do it themselves because you kind of have to. See, stunt guys do stuff like heroically or something, and that's great for, you know, Arnie Schwarzenegger movies or something. But if you're doing comedy, you have to do it pathetically. It can be life-threatening. It can be very, very dangerous. But the overriding thing about it is it has to be pathetic. And I kind of am pretty pathetic as a person, so it seems to work out, you know.
It's quite shattered for you.
It's I love doing it. It's kind of, there's no different than, you know, sort of, you know, taking off on a 15-foot wave or, you know, sort of hanging it over, you know, Sydney Harbour, you know, 32 stories up on a you know, TV antenna or something. You get a thrill, and I think that thrill translates to the audience. And if it's really happening, if you can really be hurt, you get a thrill from it, and the audience also.
Perched precariously on a high ledge while being dive-bombed by pigeons was simple compared to falling headlong down several flights of stairs.
Excuse me! I'm not...
There's this, I think it's 32-story garbage can avalanche in Mr. Accident, and that took a lot of kind of working out because it's one of the hardest stunts that I've done. The other stuff is daring and, you know, you can kind of work stuff out, but that was very technical because falling downstairs, and next time someone goes to the stairs, just have a look down and just imagine throwing yourself down there. And we had to simulate going down 32 floors. On the other hand, I kind of like it because I love dancing, and so it's kind of like, you know, some sort of mad dance or something, and your partner is a garbage can, so that was kind of pretty nice. And there was a little tribute in there with a friend, James Valentine's little girl, you know, where we had sort of knives sort of flying through the air and have to kind of save the baby, and because of doing that, I go out the window and plummet another 10 stories. So there's a lot of, you get as a filmmaker to, and if you write the stuff, you get to, besides the comedy, get to work and design the shots that you'll be performing in. You go, well, I know I can kind of get down, you know, 4 staircases in one take or something. So you just, you go and then work out your choreography, and you realise, oh, on the corner I'm going to get into a bit of trouble here. So so let's have a softer garbage can to hit at this point. The great tribute is the people you work with, the crew and your fellow cast, particularly Mr. Accident, were wonderful to work with because they, I guess in a way, understood the you know, the dangers and the pressures of suddenly going from that side of the camera out there to you know, possibly breaking your neck and stuff. Working with the actors was kind of like talking with you today. It was always felt that they were there for you. But I found on a real synthesis on Mr. Accident where people were having a lot of fun and they did care a lot, and I think it kind of shows in the film.
Breakfast, right?
It was also a family affair of sorts, with Yahoo's dog Peanut occasionally stealing the show.
Did you find that working with animals like a bit of a drag, or was it a challenge to be able to keep them as interested as you were?
Well, you hit the nail on the head because animals are great actors because they kind of don't act, you know, in a way. So they're already in the place you want to get to, and so they usually get it in one take, or at least in Mr. Accident, I made the mistake of working with my own dog. You know, and that dog knows my weaknesses. And in fact, the thing that I did, I wrote in this thing that she does, which is when there's sport on television, she races in, and in fact, she'll wait for the news, wait for the sport at the end, and then go berserk. So if there's someone, like, you know, serving a tennis ball, she'll go crazy while the ball's being served, and then when the point's won, she'll wait for the next thing and stuff. It took her a little while to recognise golf as a sport, it's so slow. But you know, any ball sport. So she's into this, and I wrote it in the movie, so it was easy. She was just playing herself. She didn't have to act and stuff, but I kind of had all these lines to do. So if, you know, if I sort of came in and I'd have some physical tripping over to do or something, sit down, have a, you know, there's always a lot of stuff to do, and I'd miss a line. And then, you know, I'd sort of call cut, you know, we'll go again. And she'd look at you, you know, she'd say, well, what is this? Why are we doing it again? I was fine, you know, and stuff. So it's actually a belittling experience. You actually feel like you're lower than the animal, you know.
Mr. Accident begins its premiere season on Movie Extra on the 23rd of February. Next week, I have more with Yahoo as he talks about playing Australia's most famous outlaw, Reckless Ned Kelly.
Mr. Agassi. Andre Agassi, ladies and gentlemen. Andre, all the best, mate, for the Open. Andre Agassi, here we are. Andre, can we give us a come on? Come on, Andre! Come on, Andre! Come on, Leighton!